concussion? What concussion? Blake Griffin returned over the weekend, and he looked as strong and tough as ever. The Sooners almost looked the same way. From the Dodge Sports Desk, I'm Jenni Carlson, and this is the OU basketball edition of the Bedlam Nation Conversation with John Helsley. John, Blake Griffin comes back, misses 2 games with a concussion, comes back over the weekend at Texas Tech. He showed no ill effects of that concussion, and he even seemed to put himself and his head in peril a couple times. Wow.
It was amazing in that the entire arena gasped when he went flying into the seats. Clearly everybody's aware of what's going on with Blake Griffin, but it was like, is this guy crazy or what? I actually posed that question to him in the post game, and he said, yeah, I guess I am a little bit.
You wrote a little bit today in your OU Insider about Oklahoma and their team. They look improved with him on the floor, obviously, but maybe not totally improved. Is that a compliment to him that they can look that much better? They've got some other stuff going on, it sounds like. Or is that a concern that one guy can have such an impact on a team?
No, I think it's a good thing, and obviously he's probably the leading candidate for Player of the Year. We've talked about that. He should have that kind of an impact on a team. The question, I think, with this team right now is it seems like there's a couple little issues under the surface that could be given some cause for concern.
Well, you got a superstar back, a big win at Tech if you're Oklahoma. Do you start to feel like the glow's getting restored a little bit, or do you still feel like there's some work to do with some games coming up this week that could really make a statement about where you are as a team?
The way Blake played the other team, I think, is good, and it gives him definitely a glow. If there was any question at all about how he might return, I think that's gone, because that was a big-time performance, and obviously the toughness is still there, and his aggression is still there as a player. The one concern is, we've had a suspension with Juan Patillo. We've had Willie Warren doesn't start the other day. There just seems to be maybe some things, like I said, under the surface. I think Jeff Capel is addressing those, though. I think that's what this is all about, the suspension and sitting Willie the other day. I think he's trying to take care of this right now before they do get going ahead, because they got a big game Wednesday night with Missouri. I think that's where they can really put a shine back on this team and say, okay, we've gone on the road, we beat Missouri, we're still the team in the Big 12 regardless of what the standings say.
Could some of those issues, the suspension of Patillo, the benching, or however you want to put that, of Willie Warren, could those be some long-term problems, or do you see them sort of being squelched? You also wrote today that Jeff Capel has pushed the right buttons to this point. Will it be a long-term issue, or is it just going to be a short-term thing?
My guess would be short-term, just because, I think Jeff has a great handle on this team. I don't think these are big things. I think they're little things like maybe not going to class, being late for a meeting, something like that. Not a major thing, but something you don't want to let it go, because then things start to get loose. Right. I think he wants a tight ship as he goes forward. You
mentioned this week and the 2 games that await the Sooners at Missouri Wednesday, then Bedlam on Saturday. Talk about those 2 games and the matchup of those 2 upcoming opponents.
Mm-hmm. The Missouri game has been one that we've kind of been watching for a while, because they play such a different style. Oklahoma hasn't played a team that will press them full court, full game like Missouri will. So there's some interest there to see how they handle it. I think they'll be okay. You'd like to see Willie Warren on the floor a lot more, because you're going to need some guards to take care of the ball and get the ball up and down. Oklahoma State is a different story in that all of a sudden they're a hot team. They're going to be coming into Norman with probably a lot of confidence, something to prove after the first game where they actually hung pretty tough. So, all of a sudden we've got some drama this week.
What's at stake for the Sooners? Do you feel like there's still a Big 12 championship that can be won out there? Kansas seems to have put some distance there on the field. Or is it #1 seed in the NCAA tournament? Is that what is at stake this week in those games?
This team all season long has used the word championships a lot. All right, the regular season is more than likely gone. Mm-hmm. But they could win a Big 12 tournament title. I think that's something they would like to do. And then obviously the #1 seed is still out there. I think they're in a good position for that if they finish pretty strong. I think the Missouri game might be important to that. If they can win that game, make the finals of the tournament, I think they're in pretty good shape to maybe claim one of those #1 seeds.
All right, lots of fun to come. John will continue to provide in-depth coverage of the Sooners. To follow all the news and analysis, stay with the best coverage team anywhere at newsok.com and every day in the Oklahoman.